Lydia Samson now joins us to discuss further Nigeria's oil and gas sector. You're welcome to the Correspondent.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, now let's begin with this, the Compressed Natural Gas Initiative, a breakthrough for Nigeria, especially for the beneficiaries and, of course, commercial vehicle drivers. But why is the cost of transportation still very high?
Thank you. Indeed, the compressed natural gas is a game changer in the energy mix, but the number of commercial vehicles that have converted so far are still a bit negligible, even though more people are coming on board. But also, let's not forget that it's biofuel, because you still operate your CNG, and once you run out, you can just, with a button, switch back to your petrol. And so it's a gradual process. It's the game changer. Eventually, slowly, will come to feel the impact. For now, let me just try to compare it to a building. When you start from the foundation, often you don't see the beauty and you don't even appreciate it. But as more and more people keep converting, especially commercial motorists, that's where the impact on bringing down the price of transportation will be felt. As more of them continue to convert, we'll begin to feel the impact. And I believe the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas is also concerned that commercial motorists have been changing. Some even got 50% discount, and lately they started free conversion for commercial motorists. But they said they will need to put in a tracker so that it will be able to track, and it will be boldly written in most of this commercial gas that they are using CNG, so that anyone using their transport will know that they are entitled to a discounted rate. But for now, because of the dual fueling and so many other logistical challenges, we may not feel the impact immediately. But like any building, from foundation, and when it's fully erected, we'll feel the impact. It is definitely going to be the game changer for us as a people, because nowhere in the world is any country relying on one energy. There's always an energy mix. And compressed natural gas, we started, in fact, if you ask me, a bit late, but hopefully it will really be something that we will applaud going forward.
Okay, now with the distribution of free kits to transporters and a growing number of CNG centers, yet there are few major dispensing centers, especially in the Federal Capital Territory. Why is that so?
It's still related to the issue of beginnings. When you start anything early, you definitely have teething problems. And I think government on its own also maybe might have underestimated the way people welcome the compressed natural gas. I use compressed natural gas now, even though I still use petrol. But you go to the stations now and you see a longer queue. And I took up the minister and the CEO of the PCNG on it and said, are we going to repeat what is happening with petrol, that people are converting and adopting CNG and now queues are coming up? But they did give me assurance that they're partnering. Government is already partnering with private sector, because it's not government that will come up with dispensing stations for CNG. It's a private sector-driven initiative. But government is supporting them and partnering with them. And recently, 6 companies were identified as gas promoters, and they got some support from government. I believe the more people are using CNG, the more the private sector operators in the oil and gas sector will see the need to invest and also come up with dispensing stations. But there are projections that every state of the Federation will have more. And even right now in Abuja, though we have only 2 reliable ones, there are processes. NNPC, for one, is partnering with NIPCO, and I know they started just barely once and had challenges, but that is why the teething problem comes in. And it's a new experience for all of us here. And so more private sector participation is being encouraged, and government is aware of this immediate challenge. But it's a good problem, because it means more people are coming on board. Because if you say, let's do CNG, let's do CNG, and you don't see people coming up to convert their vehicles, then it means people are not embracing it and they are not having their buy-in. But right now, it means there are a lot of people coming on board, and this logistics channel is something that government is coming up head-on to partner with the private sector to make sure we have more CNG dispensing stations. And I think hopefully soon we'll see the difference.
Of course, we hope that happens.
Yeah.
Now, let's turn our attention to crude oil now. With the regulatory reforms, the challenges of crude oil theft and pipeline vandalization still persist. Now, is there any hope in sight from your experiences and coverage of the bit?
Yeah, there is hope in sight. It is not a hurry yet because it still persists, like you said. But government is aware of this. And lately, if you look at what government is doing, they did not just leave it in the hands of the oil and gas operators. They brought in the military. In fact, ultimatum has been given, and military is working with all, including the national oil companies, international oil companies, and various stakeholders. And in the past, a lot of people were complicit. I think people just believe it's an all-comers affair, like they used to say cynically, it's a national cake, let's have our take. But it's no longer like that. People know that you can't get away with it because it's considered a crime. And if you are caught, there are consequences. So now, the crude oil thieves are looking for different ways. But as much as government is also deploying technology and collaborating with private and state security agencies, I wouldn't say we've won the fight, but we are, the federal government, not Lydia per se, government is winning the fight. And I believe, hopefully, it's something that we will be able to get away with, or at least take to the barest minimum, because it's really affecting production output. And Nigeria is having challenges meeting her OPEC quota, even though sometimes you see the production output will increase, sometimes it will dwindle. But I believe it's a fight that is ongoing, and it's a fight that government and key players in the industry are determined to win.
Well, that's an issue that's plagued the sector for years, and we
Indeed.
do hope that the federal government wins that fight. So now the big question, Lydia, share with us your experience in the past years covering the oil and gas sector.
Zaire, honestly, I would say it's a mixed bag. There are good days, but especially the fact that, you know, oil and gas is something that impacts directly everybody's life. And little glitches can bring a lot of challenges to people. And because you cover the sector, there are things you are aware of that you are careful not to talk about. Like, I remember the Occupy Nigeria in 2012. You know, in the newsroom in 24, we're talking, and I told my colleagues that we're just avoiding the inevitable, delaying the inevitable, that no matter how long it takes, deregulation is the way to go. I almost got lynched. 12 years later, I'm glad we're in it. Coming a little bit late, but it is something that if pursued genuinely, you know, the deregulation with a free market, you know, players, everyone can come in. And the best experience I had was an assignment I went to outside Nigeria. And that was a gas station just very close to the hotel where we're living. We have a driver that would drive us long distance before he goes to top off his gas. And I said, what is this? Why don't you just use the gas station near us? And he said, ma'am, here, it is deregulated and we go for the cheapest. And it's going to take a while, but even that is something that we'll celebrate, especially as Nigeria is no longer focusing on just crude oil. There's diversity of energy mix. We have now the CNG, we have natural gas, we have LPG, we have the crude oil, and more indigenous players are coming in. The Dangote refinery is something also that will impact, and that one is also a story for another day. But it's a great experience. You get to know things that sometimes you are really genuinely scared to talk about, because oil and gas till 2045 will still be part of a great energy mix globally. If you notice, I converted my car because it's not just about talking to people. It's about being part of the energy mix and experiencing it, so that when you will talk, you know that you're talking from a point of knowledge, not from a point of what people are telling you.
Well, Lydia, I believe it's a long walk, but I'm sure with patience and commitment, we'll get to our destination.
Hopefully.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for being part of the Correspondence this week. And we hope to see you again soon and with better news for us.
Hopefully so. Thank you for having me.